You know, for as long as we've been around, we've been on this quest to figure out what life is all about. But lately, our ambition has just exploded. We've gone from simply naming the flowers in a garden to trying to re-engineer our own bodies to live forever. This is the story of that incredible shift, from trying to classify life to trying to conquer it. So great is the love for flowers. That was the personal motto of a man who, almost 300 years ago, took that simple love and used it to totally change how we see the living world. And our story? Well, it starts with him. So, let's meet Carl Linnaeus. He was born in a tiny village in Sweden way back in 1707. And his journey, it didn't kick off in some fancy lab or a big university. Nope, it started in a garden, all fueled by this incredible curiosity. Carl was the son of a poor minister, so he was supposed to be studying biology, but his real passion was in the dirt. I mean, while other kids were out playing, he was building Carl's garden, collecting not just flowers, but anything he could find, even wild bees and wasps. He was a born naturalist. He just had this drive to understand everything around him. But back then, this obsession wasn't seen as a gift. Not at all. In fact, his headmaster actually wrote that young Carl was completely unfit for the church. The best he could hope for, they figured, was to be a tailor or maybe a shoemaker. They had no idea they were looking at a genius. So how does this kid, the one his teachers basically wrote off, become known as the Prince of Botanists? Well, he did it by looking at the beautiful, wild chaos of nature and giving it a system, giving it some order. And let me tell you, his path was not easy. At university in 1728, he was so poor he was literally patching his shoes with paper to keep from freezing. But that passion just kept pushing him. By 1732, he's on this incredible expedition through the wilds of Lapland. A few years after that, boom, he publishes his masterpiece. And by 1741, he's back at the same university where he nearly starved, only now he's a celebrated professor. And this is what made him a legend. Systema Naturae. It was a totally revolutionary idea. He suggested organizing all living things based on their reproductive parts. But even more important, he created what we call binomial nomenclature, that simple, brilliant two-part naming system, like Homo sapiens, that every biologist on the planet still uses. He didn't just organize nature, he gave us the very language to talk about it. His work was also really personal. On that trip through Lapland, he found this small, humble little flower growing in the moss, one that most people would just walk right by. He named it Linnea borealis after himself. It was this perfect symbol of his own journey, right? From being this overlooked kid to finding his own important place in the world. So Linnaeus gave us a way to understand life as it is. But now we're going to jump forward a few hundred years to a massive shift in human ambition. We're moving from just understanding life to trying to actively engineer it. For thousands of years, we were basically just students of nature, watching its cycles. But then the question started to change. What if we don't just have to accept aging? What if we could actually get in there and control the clock itself? And that question, right there, that's the dawn of a whole new scientific frontier. And this brings us to the world of biogerontology. And just to be clear, we're not talking about fancy skin creams or some kind of magic potion. This is the serious scientific study of how aging actually works on a biological level, with the very real goal of figuring out how to slow it down, or maybe even reverse it. Okay, so why do we age? Well, scientists are kind of split into two main camps. The programmed theories say that aging is just built into our DNA, like a self-destruct sequence. But the era theories see it totally differently. They argue that aging is just the buildup of damage over time, basically biological wear and tear. And here's the key. If it's just damage, well, damage can be repaired. And that one idea, that aging is a form of damage that we can fix, that has launched one of the most ambitious scientific quests in all of human history. So let's take a look at how we might actually engineer a solution to aging. So one of the leading ideas here is a framework called SENSE. That stands for Strategies for Engineered Negligible Senescence. The core idea is really a radical shift in thinking. It says aging isn't some unstoppable fate. It's a medical problem. It's just a collection of different types of damage that with the right kind of engineering, we can fix. So how would that even work? Well, SENS breaks the problem down into a checklist, like a biological maintenance plan for your body. For instance, one job is to reverse cell loss by regenerating tissues. Another is to get rid of those senescent or zombie cells that just hang around causing trouble. The whole approach covers everything from clearing out molecular garbage to fixing the little powerhouses inside our cells. Now, the ultimate goal of all this has this amazing sci-fi sounding name: longevity escape velocity. Just imagine reaching a point where, for every year that you're alive, science is advancing so fast that it adds more than a year back to your life expectancy. If we could ever hit that point, you could, in theory, just keep outrunning death forever. And look, while that escape velocity might sound like it's a long way off, the quest for it is happening right now. It's already created a massive industry. You've probably seen ads for supplements like NAD+ boosters or resveratrol. This is where that high-level science hits the mainstream, promising all of us a little piece of that longer future today. Okay, so let's just step back for a second and bring these two incredible stories together. We've gone from a man who found his life's purpose in naming a flower to an entire generation of scientists seeking to live forever. What does that jump in ambition really mean for us? What we're looking at here are two totally different ways of seeing the world. Linnaeus, he lived in the age of classification. Humanity's job was to be a student of nature, to observe and appreciate its cycles. But today, we are deep in the age of engineering. Our goal is to intervene, to repair, and maybe even to overcome those cycles. We've gone from being students of life to trying to become its architects. It is just a breathtaking leap. From finding this deep, profound beauty in the short life of a flower to dedicating our sharpest minds to the chase for a life that never ends. That is the human quest today. So the question for all of us is this: in this race toward forever, what do we stand to gain? And what crucial part of being human might we be leaving behind?